I'd love to see you behind the scenes and see how you operate, Kim. I really would. You make a really good point. A lot of people, they're like, I own my own business, but you basically own a job where you're sometimes even underpaid what you would be as an employee. So it's important not to trick yourself into thinking something. And again, maybe go back to the cash flows. It's like, well, is this cash flowing more than what was before? Mm-hmm. And if not, then you want to change it. The beautiful thing about a business is, like you said, it can scale. And if you sold $10,000 worth of products, selling 100,000 is actually not that much harder, sometimes easier. Yeah. And, I used to work in banking, and I would see some of the salespeople in the banks, and they would sell derivatives to all the people around the world, corporates, financial institutions. And then sometimes I would go out to get a watch or to get a suit, and I'd meet these amazing salespeople. And I'd look at them and I'd think, you know what? You're a great salesperson and you sell this thing. But if you sold something 100,000 times more expensive, you could easily make 100,000 times more. And yet sometimes people just pigeonhole themselves like, I can only do this or only do that. But, if you're good at something, it can scale like that. It's usually your mind that's stopping you.
Yeah. And I love that thought of scaling. If you're starting a business, how are you going to scale the business? How are you going to grow it? It's one of the things I was talking to some venture capitalists the other day, and just understanding what's important in certain businesses and what isn't. Things that you think, for example, the Rich Dad Company, some of the things I think are valuable, a buyer is not going to think is valuable. But what the number one thing that every venture capitalist seems to want in any business is growth. How are you going to grow it? How are you going to scale it? That's the number one question. So it was a fascinating discussion, because of course, then I go back to the company. I'm like, okay, how are we going to grow this more? And so we actually have 3 projects right now as a result of that one meeting on how we can put more long-term growth into the company so that it does become more valuable and more attractive. Not that we're selling the company, but I want to learn about how people think to make our business better.
Yeah, really well said. A lot of those VC people sometimes will be like, where's the technology? Because when they see you put your processes into a piece of technology, to an app or something, then they know that scales. So sometimes when you do that, your regular company becomes a tech company, and all of a sudden it gets a 20x earnings, as opposed to before that you had an 8x. So yeah, a lot of times they're looking for that. And with these massive customer bases now, via tech, it's a great way to think. And like you said, even if you're not selling, you want to know what the market values, right?
Right.
Question for you about women, because this is, we all have women in our lives, or if you're a woman listening this, and for me, I've got moms, I've got kids and daughters and all these people in my life. What is it like when you speak to women about money? What do we need to know on how we can empower women around us with money? And if a woman is listening, what are some of the mindsets or that they've sometimes adopted without knowing that they have to fight through?
Great question, Brian. I think one of the problems starts early on, and none of us had financial education growing up, men or women. But women were actually taught, and I think this is still going on today. Women are actually taught to be dependent on a husband, a family member, government as they get older. They're not even expected to know much about money. It's kind of pushed aside. So what happens is, especially as women get older, because of divorce, death of a spouse, or poor money management, oftentimes women, as they get older, they find themselves in a financial crisis. I mean, the number of women in, I think it was 87% of people living in poverty today, 87% are women, but 80% of those women were not poor when their husband was alive. So he dies. She doesn't know where anything is. Mr. and Mrs. Financial Helper come along, and next thing you know, she's broke. Right. So I think part of it starts with kind of retraining the way we're taught as kids, and as we're trained through fairy tales or whatever it is, that women have got to understand that money is a very, very important thing. I hear a lot of women say, oh, well, my eyes glaze over when I look at the numbers, or my husband handles all the finances. Or I hear the husband say, oh, my wife handles all the money. No, that's not true. She handles the day-to-day finances. I think it's like 95% of the women or 85% of the women handle the day-to-day finances, but almost none of them handle investments and long-term financial decisions. Right. And we need to start including them in those discussions. And women need to start taking charge and saying, hey, I need to know about this. Part of the problem, if you're in a situation where you're not the primary moneymaker, and now you get excited and you're like, yes, I want to start learning about investing and I want to start learning about real estate or whatever asset class it is, to have that discussion with your spouse and your husband. All of a sudden, I want to understand what we have and where it is. It can sometimes be a bit threatening. And so he's sometimes walking on eggshells. But the thing I would say to women is you got three choices. You can take charge and do something and get out there and learn and educate yourself and start investing and start learning about money. You could include your spouse, which would be the healthiest thing because you want to learn about money and investing together, or you can do nothing. And doing nothing is what's going to keep you pretty much a victim to money.
So Jim Rickards has just recorded a video that's not available to anyone in the public, and he's going to be talking about how this upcoming recession is going to be fast, it's going to be bloody, it's going to be nasty. But at the same time, he's going to show you how you can position yourself to profit from all of this chaos. Now, we've made this video only available to our viewers. Go to londonreal.tv/Jim. Watch that immediately. I can't say enough good things about Jim Rickards. He understands the global economic system better than any guest I've ever had on London Real. His predictions are almost uncannily true, and you can learn how to profit from his vision, from his expertise, and his understanding of economics. So go to londonreal.tv/Jim or click the link below. It's an excellent, excellent look on what's going to happen in the future and how you can position yourself to profit from that. Jim is one of the best in the business, one of my favorite guests on London Real, and he's very, very good at predicting the future and showing us all to profit from it. So click the link, and I hope you enjoy. Hey, it's Brian Rose, founder of the DeFi Academy. I've told you my 4-week crypto bootcamp is amazing, but don't take my word for it. This is what my students are saying.
The DeFi Academy was an amazing experience for me. It took me totally out of my comfort zone.
In this course, I was challenged, I was held accountable, and pushed to do things that honestly weren't always easy.
It's been phenomenal, and I can't believe we're already up on our 4 weeks. It has flown by.
Going through this DeFi accelerator by far was one of the best courses I've taken.
You do this course, you really get into the nitty-gritty of the activities that will make you comfortable with decentralized finance.
Thank you so much to Brian and everyone at London Real and the DeFi Academy for even putting together an amazing course like this.
Anybody else that wants to do it, please sign up. It is well worth the money.